In today's Leeds United news, calls for Bijol to start Rodon's favourite dressing room. Sommerville clause may have to wait, and rumour mill stories on Femi Azeez and Anis Haj Moussa. Hey folks, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the Leeds View for your Leeds United news for Wednesday, the 11th of March. Jer here. There's a bit of stuff to get stuck into, but just first things first, just to say thank you to everybody who took time yesterday to fill in the survey that we asked for Aidan. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure Aidan does as well. Also, there's no long watch midweek today anyway, but I will give you an update. Joe Gelhardt scored his 13th goal of the season for Hull City last night with an absolute worldie of a free kick against Wrexham. He's got 17 goal contributions now this season, so going from strength to strength for Joffrey so far. Also, you can check out last night's podcast if you want. Myself, Paul and Jerry had a little bit of a look back at the FA Cup game. We talked about the next 4 games for not just us but the other sides that are involved in the relegation battle, as well as a little bit of a conspiracy theory that I have about Chris Sommerville's injury, and we'll get to that in a bit more detail later on. Outside that, best way to support the channel is to like and subscribe to videos. We appreciate everyone who does do that. And we'll crack on with the news, and we'll start off with Bijol. Bijol was having a really strong run just before he picked up that injury after having a pretty slow start for Leeds in that back 4. But when Leeds changed to a back 3, we saw the exact reasons why Leeds United had bought him. He was incredibly impressive during that run. But respect to James Justin, since he's come in, he hasn't really put a foot wrong. But Leeds played differently when James Justin is in that side versus when Bijol is in there. But there are growing calls for Bijol to come back into that starting 11, and that to start against Crystal Palace this Sunday. Over the course of this season, Bijol has kept some of the top goal scorers and most dangerous threats in the Premier League very quiet. The likes of Haaland, Delap, Thiago, Mateta and Brian Broby were all kept incredibly quiet against Bijol, and for the bulk of them, most of them were withdrawn during the games against Leeds United, and he adds a huge amount from set plays as well. That front post run that he makes for Ethan Ampadu's long throws, and his physical presence in the penalty area as well has been a massive asset for Leeds United. We just haven't looked as dangerous on set plays since he has been out of the side. But he has also got eyes on playing in the World Cup this summer with Slovenia, and to do that, he'll want to be playing regularly coming into this summer. Centre half's performance against Norwich was excellent. He showed exactly what he brings to Leeds, a calmness when defending. He wins every single header that he has to, and his range of passing as well. Like that, there was a beautiful ball that he played through for Willy Gnonto for the Lucas Mecha goal that was unfortunately disallowed. But a lot of people, myself included, want to see him come back in to the starting 11. Bijol's only managed though to start 12 of the 29 league games this season. That just could be down to how Daniel Farke operates. Farke tends to not change his side if they've had what he deems to be a positive result, draws included in that as well. And it might just be as deep as that, and it might not be anything else outside of the fact that they've done reasonably well and he keeps him in the side. But getting Jayden Bogle back into his natural position, get Bijol back into the centre back positions, and you put together that side that went on Leeds' best run so far this season. And that's going to be hugely important for the run-in for Leeds, to get that 11 back together that was so compact, was so strong and aggressive during that run that Leeds United have. There's plenty of interest being labelled in Bijol already going into this summer. We know Fiorentina had a little bit of a sniff around him in the January transfer window. Liverpool have been labelled as having some level of interest in him as well. They see him as a replacement likely for Kanate should he leave, or just continue with the performances that he's been putting in this season. So Leeds will need to make sure that this guy is an important part of their side. And for me, he is probably one of our best, if not best, out-and-out defenders. And he allows the likes of Pascal Struijk to play football the way he likes to play it. He covers him quite well and allows Joe Rodon to push up the park as well. So he adds a huge amount. And Graham Smith in the Yorkshire Evening Post pointed to what he brought to the game against Norwich. He pointed out that the fringe players that came in probably didn't do enough to change Daniel Farke's mind on them, except for Bijol, who had a fantastic game. But again, for me, Farke needs to just return to that unpredictability that Leeds had during that really strong run of games and put the best side that he can out on the park and get rid of the sentimentality and a little bit of loyalty at this point of the season. And at this stage, for me, again, just personal opinion, you've got to be ruthless and emotionless when it comes to these last couple of games and put what you need out on that pitch to get the results and get the job done and keep Leeds United in the Premier League. And the sooner they can do that, the better. Leeds will have Strand Larsen and potentially even Mateta to deal with it. Bijol kept Mateta incredibly quiet against Palace the last time out. Strad Larson will be a very direct point of attack for Crystal Palace. So I would have him in that side and in that game if I could. But I don't pick the team. But let me know down below what your thoughts on Yaka Bijol coming in to start for Leeds United will be. Let's talk about another very important player at the back for Leeds, and it's Joe Rodon. Joe is the latest player to sit down with the official Leeds United podcast since it returned, and he had nothing but praise for his teammates in the dressing room, that he is a very strong part of. Daniel Farke has consistently talked highly of the tight-knit Leeds United dressing room that they have. He also talked during Leeds United's recruitment phases that they want to make sure they bring the best characters in to that dressing room to add to it and not take away from it. And it's something that Joe Rodon believes Leeds United have achieved. And speaking to the Leeds United official podcast, Joe Rodon said the following: "I can't speak highly enough. I think the dressing room is probably the best dressing room I've been in. I mean it from when I got here. 2.5 years I've been at Leeds, and it's my favourite dressing room, and how good everyone is. It's really tight knit. It's not just the dressing room, but it's the club, the staff, everyone involved. And I think that's one of our strengths, the togetherness in that aspect. This season, the boys, the new signings, everyone, we've changed system and we've kind of adapted. And when things are going well, the confidence is through the roof. I think that's credit to everyone involved turning it around, but we knew it was going to be difficult." Rodon goes on to talk about the fact that this is exactly where these players want to be in the Premier League, and they're still kind of adjusting to Premier League level. There's a huge amount of players in that side that have never played in the Premier League. There's a couple who've had small spells in it or unsuccessful spells in it. So there is an adaptation period that is needed. But he also spoke about one of his highlights since he's been a Leeds United player, and that was the parade at the end of last season. He said they didn't exactly know what they were facing into when they went down that morning. He said, but just to see a sea of flares and bobbing heads, he said it was the best day of his life, which is great to hear as well. But he's been absolutely immense. One of my favourite players in the Leeds United side, goes through brick walls for Leeds, and it never makes it about him. That's one of the facts that I love about him as a footballer. But he knows, as well as Daniel Farke, as well as the rest of that dressing room, the job isn't done. There's still work to be done, and it won't be easy between now and the end of the season. But they still have got to keep the heads down and keep working hard as they have been so far this season. We'll move on. Right, so yesterday we had a great story on Sommerville and the potential clause in his contract that could see Leeds pick up £4 million before the PSR deadline at the end of this season, and that doesn't look like it's going to be the case now, and it might have to wait a little bit longer. But there could be a positive in this for Leeds regardless of that. Sommerville has picked up a calf injury and is expected to miss a few games for West Ham United. He picked it up against Brentford in the FA Cup, and he will possibly also miss the March international break, where Leeds were hoping that he would get that cap and trigger that clause to see Leeds get £4 million. However, according to Jacob Steinberg in The Guardian, he says it's not too serious, it's a minor calf issue, but he will miss some games, contrary to rumours that he could be out for the rest of the season. Steinberg said the likeliest outcome is that Sommerville will return to the side just after the international break, just in time to play Leeds United in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. Now, we kept him pretty quiet during the first game at Elland Road, but he's been in incredible form since then, and it could be a boost all round for all the sides that are competing with West Ham down the bottom end of the table. He's been a massive part of West Ham's charge to close the gap on the sides above them. He's got 7 goals and 2 assists since this calendar year started, so him being out of the side against the likes of Manchester City and Aston Villa that they have up next will be a boost. But as I say, he could return to play against Leeds United in the FA Cup. See how this injury goes. It's the wrong time of the year for key players to be picking up injuries. We have our own one to worry about. We've got to hope that Daniel Farke tells us that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is fine, fit and healthy going into the Crystal Palace game. But yeah, we're not going to get the £4 million just yet. Might have to wait till the summer for that. But he has been probably their most important player over the last 6-7 games. So not ideal for them, but great for everybody else. And when he does come back, there'll be 7 league games left. So not a lot to play. Let's get into the rumour mill. And as always, we'll keep track of all these rumours and the publications saying them. And we will see at the end of this season, when the window opens, who's been telling the truth and who's been making stuff up. We'll start off with Femi Azeez. Right, so One Football claimed that Leeds United have scouted and watched Millwall winger Femi Azeez several times over the course of this season. And I've been pretty impressed with what they've seen. Now, One Football wouldn't exactly be a news-breaking outlet. They wouldn't exactly have huge amounts of sources. Again, more of an aggregate site than anything else. So you can take this with a pinch of salt. But the same report claims that Leeds United might look at selling Dan James this summer after his injury problems this season. He's 28 years of age, and they might be looking for a like-for-like replacement for him. They see Azeez as that ideal replacement. Azeez has got 8 goals and 6 assists in 24 league games this season for Millwall. They sit third in the championship, and he's been a major part of that. Go back a year as well, and he also scored 2 goals against Leeds United in the FA Cup last season, and that could be also when he popped up on Leeds' radar. But Azeez's pace and his end product are both said to be two of the attributes that Leeds United are interested in bringing in, and that could be what they're looking at as a younger version or a competition at the very least for Dan James. Dan James is 28 years of age, and he's had hamstring issues this season as well, but I still think there's plenty of life left in Dan James. But Leeds could be just looking at hedging their bets. But again, it's coming from one football. You don't know. You just don't know with them. He's 24 years of age as well, so he's got plenty of years ahead of him. And it's an interesting one. He is very much a player that's been getting better and better season on season, so there is growth from the player there as well. And his attribute, again, the end product is a big part of what he does bring to the game as well. So it's an interesting one. But there is another one. Anis Haj Moussa is another player who kind of fits a similar type of bill to Femi Azeez. And according to La Gazzetta de Fnac, Leeds, Sunderland and Chelsea are all having a look at Feyenoord winger Anis Haj Moussa. Moussa has been labelled as one of the standout players since he signed for Feyenoord back in 2024. He's scored 22 goals, has 11 assists in 76 appearances. And this season, he's got 8 goals and 5 assists. And in the Europa League, he's also added 2 goals and an assist in 7 games there. As I say, there's similarities to Azeez. The age is similar. The goal output and the end product output is very similar as well. He's not the first or last winger that has been linked with Leeds, and maybe Leeds are looking at restocking that wide position. If Larry Rosani moves on, if Leeds do try to upgrade that position, we'll see what Willie Nonto wants to do in the summer. I think Willie's been very effective when he has come in for Leeds so far this season. I'd like to see him start more games if he could, but Leeds could be looking at that as an area as well. But it was said yesterday in the comments, and it was nail on the head, Leeds need to do a better job of selling players for profit to help them bring in newer and upgraded players. Femi Azeez is coming from the Championship, so there is that step up that's needed, and we've seen that with other players who don't always make that step up. And he's Haj Moussa is playing in the Eredivisie. Again, it's not massively impactful league in the world, but he's been decent for them. He's played very well for his national side as well. So it is an interesting one, but it does look like another summer where it's going to be Leeds United and Sunderland mentioned with every single player that does pop up. But we are in that bracket ourselves. If West Ham stay in the league, whoever's down that bottom half of the table are likely to be competing. But it is interesting that Chelsea are mentioned with him as well. Moussa, that is 24 years of age, good age, very, very strong output. I mean, 22 goals, 11 assists, and 76 appearances at that young age is a hell of a return for any player. But again, we'll keep track of it. And once this season is wrapped up, we'll put a podcast together. We'll just look at all of these and we'll see if there's any kind of pattern emerging as a Leeds potential shortlist, or if everyone's just making up stuff at this point of the year. So probably the latter, but we'll see how it goes. Folks, massive thanks as always for supporting the channel and watching the content. Really, really do appreciate everyone who takes time to watch it, to like it, subscribe to the channel. It means an awful lot to us. And if you want to check out last night's podcast, you can do so as well. Outside of that, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow for more Leeds news, and we will have a press conference reaction on bigup.com, and we will also have the podcast out tomorrow night as a preview look ahead to the Crystal Palace game. Outside that, enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you later. See you, bye.